Ladies and gentlemen, let's tell the truth that most people are too scared to say out loud. Having few friends, or no friends, does not automatically mean you are broken, unlikable, or failing at life. Sometimes it means you are in a season where your mind is upgrading, your standards are rising, your nervous system is protecting your peace, and your identity is being built without the crutch of constant social validation. Yes, loneliness can be painful, and yes, isolation can be unhealthy. But do not confuse quiet with weakness. Sometimes the rarest people are the least surrounded, not because they are less valuable, but because they are less available to the wrong energy. Having few or no friends doesn't automatically mean you are socially failing. Sometimes it means you are psychologically upgrading. One of the rarest traits in modern social life is high standards combined with self-respect, because most people are trained to prioritize belonging over truth. They would rather be included than be authentic. They would rather tolerate low-quality friendships than face the discomfort of being alone. So when you see someone with a small circle, it can be a sign that they refuse to pay the emotional price of fake connection. High standards in friendship usually come from one core belief: your peace is valuable. If you know your peace is valuable, you stop giving access to people who drain it. You stop entertaining friendships built on gossip, jealousy, competition, and shallow attention. You stop showing up for people who only contact you when they need something, or who disappear when you need support. You stop laughing at jokes that disrespect you. You stop being the therapist for people who never listen to you. You stop being the loyal one in relationships where loyalty is not returned. That is not arrogance. That is self-respect finally becoming stronger than fear of loneliness. A lot of social life is built on convenience, not character. People bond because they are in the same class, the same workplace, the same neighborhood, the same friend group. The connection becomes habit, not depth. And when your standards rise, convenience is no longer enough. You begin to ask deeper questions. Do I feel safe with this person? Do they celebrate me or compete with me? Can they be happy for me without bitterness? Can they tell the truth without cruelty? Can they respect boundaries? Can they apologize? Can they keep secrets? Can they be consistent? Can they be kind when nobody is watching? Those questions eliminate a lot of people quickly, because many people want friendship benefits without friendship responsibility. Another part of high standards is low tolerance for fake energy. Fake energy is when someone smiles but secretly resents you. Fake energy is when someone compliments you but hopes you fail. Fake energy is when someone is friendly in public but cold in private. Fake energy is when someone pretends to care, but your pain is entertainment to them. People with strong intuition often sense this early. They feel the inconsistency. They notice the small disrespect, the backhanded compliments, the subtle undermining, the jokes that are really insults. And instead of staying and normalizing it, they leave. They don't stay in rooms where their nervous system has to stay on guard. High standards also mean you don't bond through negativity. Many friendships are built through shared complaints, shared enemies, shared gossip, and shared bitterness. That kind of bonding feels close, but it's actually toxic intimacy. It creates connection through poison. A person with higher standards often feels disgusted by that. They don't enjoy tearing people down. They don't enjoy constant drama. They don't enjoy being entertained by someone else's failures. They prefer friendships that build, friendships that inspire, friendships that are calm, honest, and respectful. And those friendships are rarer because they require emotional maturity. When your standards are high, your circle becomes smaller for a simple reason. Most people don't want to grow. They want comfort. They want friends who will tolerate their bad habits, validate their excuses, and join them in emotional chaos. But a person with self-respect is not easily controlled by guilt, pressure, or fear. They can say no. They can step away. They can be misunderstood. They can handle the discomfort of people calling them too much or too serious, because deep down they know being alone is better than being surrounded by people who make you feel alone. This trait often develops after pain. People don't usually build high standards by accident. They build them after betrayal, after being used, after being mocked, after being ignored, after realizing that being popular did not protect them. It just gave them more exposure to low-quality energy. Over time, they learn a brutal lesson. Not everyone who laughs with you is for you. Not everyone who calls you friend respects you. Not everyone who asks about your life is happy for you. So they stop being naive. They stop giving everyone access. They stop trusting words and start trusting patterns. It's also important to understand the difference between being selective and being closed. Selective means you are open to real connection, but you require proof of character. Closed means you are hiding from connection because fear controls you. High standards are healthy when they are balanced with openness. You don't want to punish the world for what one person did. You don't want to build walls so high that nobody can reach you. The goal is not isolation. The goal is alignment. The goal is to protect your peace while staying open to the right people. So if you have few or no friends, don't immediately label yourself as lacking. Consider the possibility that you are unwilling to settle. You are unwilling to buy fake belonging at the cost of your self-respect. You are unwilling to participate in shallow bonding and toxic intimacy. You are unwilling to shrink, perform, or tolerate disrespect just to be included. That is a rare trait, and when it's guided by wisdom and not bitterness, it becomes one of the strongest foundations for a life built on dignity, peace, and real connection. Having few or no friends can sometimes be a sign of strong independence and internal validation, a rare trait in a world that trains people to outsource their self-worth. Many people don't realize how much of their social life is driven by anxiety, the anxiety of being left out, the anxiety of being forgotten, the anxiety of not being chosen, the anxiety of sitting alone with their own thoughts. So they keep connections that don't actually nourish them. They entertain friendships that are shallow, inconsistent, or even disrespectful, because the fear of solitude feels bigger than the pain of bad company. But a psychologically strong person often has a different relationship with solitude. They can be alone without falling apart, and that ability changes everything. Internal validation means you don't need constant proof from the outside to feel okay on the inside. It means your identity is built from your own values, your own discipline, your own growth, your own character, not from the number of people who text you, invite you, praise you, or keep you in the group chat. When someone has internal validation, they stop chasing attention like it's oxygen. They stop begging for inclusion. They stop performing personality just to be liked. They can sit quietly and still feel worthy. They can live privately and still feel powerful. That is why their circle can be small, because they don't need people as emotional medication. This trait often shows up as emotional self-sufficiency. They can handle their own mood without needing constant social stimulation. They can calm themselves. They can reflect. They can redirect their attention. They can sit with discomfort without immediately escaping into noise. They may have routines that regulate them: reading, working, training, praying, journaling, learning, creating. These routines become a stable inner home. And when you have a stable inner home, you don't desperately cling to external homes. You can choose people instead of using people. Choosing people is the key difference. Many people chase friends because they want reassurance, but independent people choose friends based on alignment. They ask, do we share values? Do we respect each other? Do we show up? Do we grow? Do we encourage? Do we tell the truth? Do we protect each other's dignity? Because they don't need a crowd, they can wait for quality. They don't lower standards just to fill a weekend. They don't tolerate disrespect just to avoid silence. They can walk away, not because they are cold, but because their self-worth is not tied to being accepted by everyone. Independence also makes a person less controllable. When you don't need people to survive emotionally, you are harder to manipulate. You don't respond to guilt trips the same way. You don't stay in toxic friendships out of fear. You don't explain yourself to people who don't deserve explanations. You can handle being misunderstood because your identity is not built on approval. That is why some people react negatively to independent people. They interpret boundaries as arrogance. They interpret privacy as distance. But often, what they are really reacting to is the fact that you cannot be controlled with attention, you cannot be bribed with inclusion, and you cannot be pressured with everyone else is doing it. Another reason this trait can reduce friendships is that independent people often have a strong mission focus. They use their time differently. They don't spend hours on aimless hanging out, gossip, and meaningless social routines. They invest in self-development, work, business, family, health, goals. They may still enjoy social time, but they are intentional about it. They don't socialize to escape, they socialize to connect. And because much of modern socializing is based on escape, independent people can feel out of place in many groups. They don't enjoy constant complaining. They don't enjoy shallow talk. They don't enjoy drama. They don't enjoy the subtle competition of who is doing better. So they naturally drift away from many circles. It's important to say this clearly. Independence does not mean you don't need anyone. Humans need connection. But independence means you don't need connection that costs you your dignity. It means you don't accept crumbs as friendship. It means you can handle temporary loneliness while you build a healthier social life. It means you don't rush into the wrong circles just to feel included. That patience is a sign of internal strength. There is a shadow side, though, and it's worth recognizing. Sometimes people call it independence, when it's actually self-protection from past hurt. They say, "I don't need anyone," when the real truth is, "I'm afraid of being disappointed." True independence is calm. It's not bitter. It's not defensive. True independence still allows love. It still allows trust, slowly. It still allows vulnerability with safe people. The difference is that independent people don't throw their heart into unsafe hands. They don't reveal everything to everyone. They choose wisely. So if your circle is small, it may be because you have a rare kind of inner stability. You can sit alone and still feel whole. You can build your life without constant applause. You can say no without guilt. You can wait for quality. And in a world addicted to validation, that ability is not loneliness. It is emotional power. Having few or no friends can be linked to a rare kind of sensitivity, not weakness, but heightened perception. Some people can walk into a room and instantly feel what others miss. They notice the shift in tone when someone enters. They sense the hidden competition behind a compliment. They catch the sarcasm that pretends to be humor. They feel the tension under the surface of a friendly conversation. This trait is psychological radar, and when you have it, social life becomes different, because you don't only hear words, you process energy, intention, and inconsistency. High sensitivity often means your nervous system is more responsive. You absorb atmospheres. You register micro-expressions. You notice who is genuine and who is acting. That can be a gift, because it protects you from being fooled, but it can also be exhausting. If you're in a group where people are performing, hiding resentment, or playing status games, your body feels it. You may leave the gathering not because anything dramatic happened, but because your nervous system was working overtime. Others might say, "It was fun," while you feel drained, because you were unconsciously processing emotional signals all night long. People with strong emotional perception also struggle with fake intimacy. Fake intimacy is when people act close, but their loyalty is weak. They talk sweet, but they disappear when it matters. They call you best friend, but they don't protect you in front of others. They ask about your life, but they use your information as gossip. They celebrate you publicly, but resent you privately. A highly perceptive person detects these contradictions early, and instead of tolerating them for the sake of belonging, they retreat. It's not that they don't like people, it's that they don't like games. And many social circles, without admitting it, run on games. This trait also means you notice patterns. You notice who only contacts you when they need something. You notice who supports you only when you are struggling, but becomes strange when you succeed. You notice who listens to respond, not to understand. You notice who turns every conversation back to themselves. You notice who makes you feel guilty for having boundaries. You notice who makes jokes that subtly lower your confidence. These are not small things to a perceptive person, because small things reveal big character. Most betrayals don't begin as explosions. They begin as tiny disrespect that the wrong people keep ignoring. Because of this perception, many highly sensitive people become selective. They would rather be alone than be surrounded by people who feel unsafe. Safety here is emotional safety, the feeling that you can relax and be yourself without being judged, mocked, competed with, or used. When you can't find emotional safety, loneliness starts to look less painful than social stress. So they choose solitude. The outside world calls it antisocial, but internally it feels like self-protection. Another part of this keynote is that high perception often comes from experience. People develop emotional radar after they've been hurt, after betrayal, after being used, after being misunderstood, after being laughed at, after being blamed for being too sensitive. So their nervous system learns, pay attention. It becomes hyper, aware to prevent future pain. That awareness can keep them safe, but it can also keep them guarded. They might pull back too quickly. They might assume bad intentions. They might struggle to trust even good people, because their system has learned that closeness can equal danger. This is why sensitivity is powerful, but it must be balanced with discernment. Discernment is different from suspicion. Discernment says, I will observe, then decide. Suspicion says, I will assume, then defend. The healthiest sensitive people learn to use their radar without letting it become paranoia. They learn to check signals, not just react to them. They learn to ask, is this person truly unsafe, or am I triggered by something familiar? That question is maturity, because it stops sensitivity from becoming a prison. Highly perceptive people also tend to be deep thinkers. They don't enjoy superficial conversations for long because their mind naturally searches for meaning. They want real connection, real truth, real understanding. They may feel bored by gossip, bored by status talk, bored by small talk that never leads anywhere. That doesn't mean they are superior. It means their brain is wired for depth, and depth is rare. So naturally, their circle becomes smaller because there are fewer people who can meet them there. The most important thing to understand is that sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a signal. It's your system telling you, be careful where you place your heart. It can help you choose better friends, better partners, better environments. But sensitivity becomes a problem when it isolates you completely, when it convinces you that nobody is safe, when it turns every social moment into threat. The goal is not to turn off your radar. The goal is to aim it correctly, to recognize genuine people, to allow slow trust, to build a small circle that feels calm and real. Because for a sensitive person, one safe friend can feel like 1,000 shallow ones. People who have few or no friends often have a strong sense of purpose-driven living, meaning they are deeply invested in their personal growth, goals, and values, rather than relying on social approval to define their worth. They understand that time is their most valuable resource, and they choose to invest it in areas that align with their long-term vision. While many people fill their lives with social obligations, distractions, and the constant pursuit of validation, these individuals focus on building their careers, skills, health, knowledge, or creative projects. They understand that true fulfillment comes from within, and that real progress is made in the quiet, uninterrupted hours spent on personal growth. They're not driven by the need to conform to societal expectations, but rather by the desire to achieve something meaningful and impactful, often in solitude. Because of this intense focus on their internal mission, they may not make time for frequent socializing or superficial friendships, and they don't feel the need to fill every moment with social activity. They would rather use their energy for something they truly value, whether it's advancing in their field, developing their body or mind, or simply creating a life of purpose. Alongside this purpose-driven mentality comes strong emotional boundaries, which protect them from engaging in toxic or shallow relationships. They understand that the energy they invest in friendships is precious, and because of that, they are selective about who they allow into their lives. They have learned to say no to relationships that feel draining, manipulative, or unfulfilling. They don't stay friends with someone just because they've known them for years, or because society tells them they should maintain a certain social circle. Instead, they evaluate whether a relationship adds value to their life, whether it contributes to their well-being, their personal growth, or their happiness. For some people, this can be difficult because they fear loneliness or judgment, but those with strong emotional boundaries understand that sometimes it's better to be alone than to settle for relationships that aren't aligned with their true self. They know that maintaining their emotional health is more important than keeping up with social norms, and they're willing to let go of relationships that don't serve them, even if it means having fewer people around. Another key trait of people with fewer friends is deep self-reliance. These individuals don't feel the need to rely on others for validation, emotional support, or companionship. They are content with their own company and are able to enjoy time alone without feeling lonely or disconnected. Their sense of self-worth is not determined by how many friends they have or by how much attention they receive from others. They have developed an internal sense of confidence that allows them to thrive without needing to seek constant reassurance from external sources. They are comfortable in their own skin and find joy in their own pursuits, whether it's through creative expression, intellectual curiosity, or personal achievements. For them, solitude is not a reflection of rejection, but an opportunity for self-reflection and growth. They've learned to enjoy their own thoughts, to work through challenges without relying on others, and to celebrate their own victories without the need for validation from friends or family. This emotional independence allows them to cultivate a sense of inner peace that isn't disturbed by the fluctuations of social approval. Lastly, people who have few or no friends often exhibit high emotional intelligence. They are incredibly perceptive about the energy around them and are keenly aware of how people behave and communicate. They can read between the lines, sense underlying motives, and understand the subtle dynamics in social settings. This heightened sensitivity makes them more selective about the people they spend time with. They know that being around emotionally draining or toxic people can negatively impact their mental and emotional state, so they carefully choose relationships that feel authentic, supportive, and positive. They also tend to have a deep understanding of their own emotions, allowing them to navigate life's challenges with a calm and grounded approach. Because of this emotional intelligence, they may often find that the people they encounter in social settings do not align with their values, leading them to prefer fewer, but more meaningful connections. They don't require constant social interaction to feel validated, because they have learned to manage their emotions effectively, which further reinforces their desire for smaller, more intimate circles rather than large, less connected groups. These 4 key traits, purpose, driven living, strong emotional boundaries, deep self-reliance, and high emotional intelligence, often explain why some individuals prefer solitude or have fewer friends. Rather than feeling lonely or lacking, these individuals have cultivated a life that doesn't require external validation, instead choosing quality over quantity in their relationships. They may not conform to the social norms of constant socializing or maintaining large circles, but their emotional and psychological well-being is richer because of it. They have learned to honor their own needs, respect their time, and prioritize personal growth over social status, which gives them a sense of peace and fulfillment that cannot be found in the noise of modern social expectations.